There's a line from the three body problem that I really love, and it sits right at the center of the whole trilogy. And the more I think about it, the more it sums up one of the bigger concepts of the story. It goes, on Earth, humankind can step onto another continent and without a thought destroy the kindred civilizations found there through warfare and disease. But when they gaze up at the stars, they turn sentimental and believe that if extraterrestrial intelligence exists, they must be civilizations bound by universal, noble moral constraints. I think it should be precisely the opposite. Let's turn that kindness we showed towards the stars to members of the human race on Earth. And this line is kind of a call out, a gentle one, but still a call out. And the trilogy keeps circling around it. We look at outer space with hope, with softness, and with this weird assumption that anything out there must be better than us. But here at home, with each other, humanity is messy and cruel and often careless. And somehow we think aliens, beings who don't share our history or biology, will care about us more than we care about ourselves. The whole series builds around showing how dangerous that mindset is. It shows what happens when humans assume the universe is kinder than we are. And it shows how that hope doesn't prepare us for a universe that isn't sentimental or whimsical. Let's start with the opening of the first book, the part during the Cultural Revolution. Yet when Sia watches her father get beaten to death by teenagers who claim they're fighting for righteousness, that moment defines her. It breaks her belief in humanity. And that moment sets her on the path to send that message into space. When she makes contact with the Trisolarans, she's ready to believe they're better than humans, kinder, more reasonable. She even thinks they might save us from ourselves. That right there is the quote in action. She's willing to give aliens the benefit of the doubt in a way she can't give to her own species. But the universe doesn't even meet her halfway. The Trisolarans respond with cold logic and brutal survival tactics. There's no universal morality, there's no shared code. They don't see humans as equals. They don't even see them as a threat at first, just a problem to be dealt with swiftly. And then the Sophon blockade happens, and physics itself stops working. You see how unprepared humanity is for meeting someone who doesn't care about fairness or ethics. The Trisolarans want survival, full stop. That's one of the trilogy's big points. Moral and civilized don't mean the same thing everywhere. We project our values onto the stars, but the stars aren't obligated to reflect them back. Look at the three body virtual reality game. The game shows the Trisolarans living through chaotic eras with brutal deaths and impossible conditions. They don't get to be sentimental. They don't get to value all life. Their entire worldview comes from surviving a planet that kills them over and over again. And still, some humans look at them with awe, like they're these wise protectors who will fix everything. It's wild, but it's also believable because we romanticize space in real life too. People talk about Mars like it's a paradise waiting for us, when it's a rock with dust storms and no oxygen. Some people talk about escaping Earth's problems by colonizing the moon, as if pollution or inequality or violence won't hitch a ride with us. Space becomes a fantasy of a clean reset. But that's not how people work. The three body problem drags that idea into the light and shakes it a bit. Look at the more extreme humans in the story, the ETO. These people end up worshiping aliens, literally worshiping them. They're ready to hand Earth over because they think humanity deserves punishment or that the Trisolarans will build a better world. And honestly, the aliens don't even try to pretend to be moral. That fantasy is entirely human made. It's total projection. And when the ETO realizes what inviting a stronger civilization actually means, when they understand that the Trisolarans' plan is to come as conquerors, their shock makes them look naive. But that's the point. It shows how sentimental thinking towards the stars blinds people. The second book shows another angle. As soon as Earth can't rely on physics, humans turn on each other fast. There's panic, there's chaos, nations stockpile nukes, militaries escalate, and trust just collapses. Nobody acts like they believe in universal brotherhood anymore. Suddenly, survival is the only rule. And through all that, there's still this hope floating in the air that the Trisolarans might change their minds or learn compassion or see the value of human culture. But they don't. Why would they? Their whole civilization grew in a world where survival is the only option. One of my favorite examples is the Wallfacer Project. The idea behind it is pure desperation, hide strategies inside the minds of individuals because the aliens can see everything else. But even in this global crisis, humans can't trust each other. The entire project becomes a mess of paranoia, sabotage, and political ego. By the time we reach death's end, humanity has grown and changed. But the same theme sticks. Every time humans try to project kindness onto the universe reminds them it doesn't operate on those rules. Chen Xing is the ultimate example. She's compassionate, she's gentle, she truly values life, she values integrity. But the universe doesn't reward those traits, it crushes her for it. When she hesitates at the worst possible moment, when she can't push the button, we see what happens when you expect the cosmos to be guided by empathy. That moment costs everything. And later, the Dark Forest strike shows how cold the universe can be, not because it's evil, but because that's how survival works on a cosmic scale. The books aren't saying kindness is bad. They're saying kindness is our choice, not the universe's. And if we assume kindness is universal, we're setting ourselves up to get blindsided. And this is where I want to bring up The Expanse, because it's a perfect, smaller scale mirror for the same idea. Humans spread into the solar system, and what happens? They don't suddenly get wiser, kinder, or more thoughtful. They don't use the chance to start fresh and fix the mistakes of the past. Instead, they carry all the same greed, inequality, and exploitation with them. The Belters, the people who live in the hardest, most dangerous parts of space, end up being treated like tools. They're overworked, underfed, politically ignored, and basically stuck paying for the comfort and safety of Earth and Mars. Nothing improves, it just moves the problem somewhere new. And here's the question. Do we really think it would be any different if the corporations and the richest people in the world are the ones colonizing space? Who's going to do the dangerous, backbreaking labor on Mars or the moon? Who's going to build the settlements, mine the resources, maintain life support? It's most likely going to be the people with the least to lose, the ones already on the margins of society. Meanwhile, the wealthy get to float above it all. That's exactly the warning the three body problem gives, but on a cosmic scale. It's not just about aliens or space travel, it's about us. If we go into space thinking it will make humanity inherently better or rescue us from the mistakes we've made here, we're lying to ourselves. I'd even go so far to call it delusional. The universe doesn't reset just because we leave Earth. Our flaws, our greed, our inequalities, they follow us. And until we confront them, the fantasy of space as a moral upgrade is just a fantasy. The universe keeps saying space won't magically cleanse us, space won't civilize us, space won't save us from our own history. What will save us, if anything does, is turning the compassion we dream about in the stars back towards each other here, now on Earth. Because if we can't do that with the people we share a planet with, a history with, and a biology with, then we won't do it with strangers made from different biologies or on a world we can barely breathe on. And we definitely won't get it from them. That quote nails it. It's not pessimism, but discernment. Maybe we don't need to send Beethoven into space. Maybe we shouldn't try to make contact. And maybe we should strive to do better here on Earth before exporting our problems to a more dangerous real estate location. Before we idolize aliens or space colonization or the idea of starting over among the stars, Maybe start by doing better here on the ground. It's a brilliant concept from the author that forces us to really face some deep thoughts when confronting our relationship with space. Is it a pessimistic take? Absolutely. But humans be humanin', and the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy is such a great series because it takes that cold, otherworldly logic of otherness and forces us to see a different side of things. Humans shouldn't abandon integrity, but in space, it can get you killed. That wraps things up. This is a new channel for me, so if you enjoyed this video, help a girl out, please like, please subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll be back to talk more sci-fi soon.